and welcome to the only table where the screams are the appetizers, and the fear is the main course. Pull up a chair, if you dare. Tonight, the shadows are stretching long, the floorboards are creaking with unseen footsteps, and the air is thick with a whisper you can't quite place. You're listening to the Scare Table, where we serve up the deepest, darkest, and most delightful chills the world has to offer. We have set a place just for you. Get ready to feast on true tales of terror, unsettling legends, and the bizarre happenings that defy explanation. Turn down the lights, lock the doors, and maybe check what's standing behind you. It's time to gather round the Scare Table. Let the haunting begin.
Lock the service windows, clean out the freezer bins, and sanitize the scoopers, because the perimeter is officially coated in a sticky layer of crimson syrup. Welcome back to the Scare Table, where we audit every piece of modern horror, splatter-house madness, and exploitation cinema crawling out of the summer heatwave. I'm Shane, and tonight we are diving spoon first into Eli Roth's brand new independent bloodbath from the horror section, Ice Cream Man.
Oh man, talk about a sticky situation. After coming off the absolute seismic crater of Borderlands, Eli Roth threw off the studio corporate handcuffs, dove back into his indie splatter roots, and decided to channel his inner demented Pied Piper. We're talking about Bayleen Bay, an idyllic, sun-drenched coastal town where the only thing higher than the July temperature is the body count once the local kids get a taste of frozen, mind-melting ecstasy on wheels.
What makes this movie so hilariously unhinged is how it weaponizes childhood nostalgia against suburban complacency. Ari Millen plays the silent, eerie ice cream man with this grinning, dead-eyed menace, handing out free sweet treats that turn the town's children into catatonic, sugar-fueled, homicidal maniacs. And who's our hero? Jared Mayfair, played by Charlie Zeltzer, who just happens to be completely lactose-intolerant, meaning he's the only kid in town dodging the dairy-induced murder trance while watching his classmates butcher their parents with zero hesitation.
Let's pull up the master kill sheet and break down the carnage. We've got zombified kids turning local classrooms into execution chambers, absurd levels of practical gore, and a self-aware, gleefully goofy tone that leans right into the dark comedy of it all. Is it a high-art psychological masterpiece? Absolutely not. It's Eli Roth rolling up in an ice cream truck and splashing neon-dyed corn syrup all over the lens. Let's grade the kills, debate the child slasher chaos, and hand out our definitive verdicts.
Oh man, stop the music right there, because I am about to lose my absolute mind. If you ever wanted to see Eli Roth throw off the billion-dollar Marvel-style studio handcuffs and just bathe in 500 gallons of neon pink corn syrup and expired dairy products, Ice Cream Man is your wet dream. We are talking about pure, unadulterated drive-in B-movie exploitation trash of the absolute highest order. The practical effects look like a toddler let loose with a pressurized garden hose full of strawberry Nesquik and meat scraps, and I wouldn't have it any other way. When that ice cream truck rolls down the suburban street playing that delightfully cursed, warped music box jingle, you just know somebody's face is about to get deep fried in the soft serve machine. It is glorious, sticky, brainless, splatter-house perfection.
As much as I love watching Marcus drown in neon corn syrup, let's actually look at what this movie is doing beneath the sticky surface. What makes Ice Cream Man fascinating, and a bit more clever than your standard drive-in gore fest, is how it weaponizes childhood nostalgia against suburban complacency. Ari Millen plays the Ice Cream Man with this dead-eyed, unsettling menace, turning a universally beloved childhood staple into a vector for a literal, sugar-fueled, homicidal cult. And then you have our protagonist, Jared Mayfair, played by Charlie Zeltzer, who is completely lactose intolerant. Think about the brilliant dark comedy of that setup. The entire town's youth are turning into catatonic, brain-melting mini psychopaths because they can't resist the free dairy treats, while our lactose-intolerant hero has to dodge both murderous toddlers and his own digestive system just to survive the summer. It's an absolute subversion of the trusted adult versus innocent kids trope, turning the kids into the monsters, while the gluten-dodging, lactose-avoiding outcast has to save the day.
All right, hold on. Stop talking over each other before we blow out the audio levels. Marcus, you're acting like this movie is just a 2-hour tutorial on how to empty a fire hose of red corn syrup into a blender. But Chloe's right. There's an actual structure underneath the slime. Or is there? Because let's be real, Marcus. When half the town's kids are turning into sugar-demented cultists, does the lactose intolerance angle actually work as social satire? Or is it just Eli Roth throwing every random gross-out gag at the wall and praying something sticks?
Oh, come on, Shane. You're looking for a graduate thesis in a movie where a kid gets pureed in a soft-serve machine. That's the beauty of it. Roth didn't make a pretentious, slow-burn A24 mood piece about grief and generational trauma. He made a fast-paced, blood-soaked grindhouse carnival. The lactose intolerance angle isn't deep social satire. It's a brilliant, gross-out gag that keeps our hero, Jared, from turning into a brain-melting zombie while everyone else is busy chewing through their own kitchen drywall. It's pure B-movie survival logic.
See, Marcus, that's where you're missing the entire thematic spine of the film. It is a subversion, but not because it's high art. It's because it flips the classic Amblin-style trope on its head. Usually, in these suburban horror setups, the kids are the innocent, pure victims being corrupted or terrorized by creepy, predatory adults. But here, the ice cream man just hands out the vehicle for the corruption, and the kids immediately become the ruthless, unhinged monsters terrorizing the adults. Bayleen Bay isn't a safe suburb anymore. It's a playground of miniature, sugar-shocked sociopaths, and Jared, our dairy-dodging outcast, has to navigate a town where every single one of his classmates wants to turn him into a sundae topping.
That's actually a fair point about flipping the kid-monster dynamic. But let's talk about the pacing of the chaos. Because once the truck makes its second pass through town and the body count spikes, does the movie lose its momentum? Or does Ari Millen's silent, dead-eyed performance as the ice cream man carry the second act?
Carry it? Ari Millen doesn't just carry it, he glides through it like a terrifying, smiling specter of death. He doesn't even need dialogue, just that chilling, dead-eyed stare while handing out neon pink death cones.
All right, let me pull us back on track. Marcus, before you jump off the deep end about the practical gore, let's address the real narrative architecture here. Eli Roth and Noah Belson set this in Bayleen Bay, and the mechanism of horror isn't just random blood. It's Jonathan Smiley, played silently by Ari Millen, driving around handing out free treats called Swamp, Creepy, and Slimy. But what happens after the kids eat them? That's where the structure takes a genuinely dark turn.
It takes a turn straight into Parent Slaughter Central. That's what I'm talking about. The kids eat the ice cream, get hypnotized watching those weird cartoons, and then that same night, they go on a silent, catatonic rampage and butcher their own sleeping parents in their beds. That parent slaughter night sequence delivers pure, relentless, practical splatter.
And psychologically, that sequence is where the film's real horror resides. It completely perverts the fundamental parental trust structure. Your child walks into your bedroom at night, and instead of asking for a glass of water, they're holding a weapon under the influence of a sugar-induced trance. But where the script stumbles for me is the generative AI controversy around those in-universe cartoons. Instead of feeling like authentic, uncanny retro animation, it pulled a lot of critics and viewers right out of the psychological immersion.
Which brings us to the mid-movie shift and the school takeover. Jared Mayfair, played by Charlie Zeltzer, is our outcast protagonist solely because his lactose intolerance keeps him from consuming the cursed treats. Mechanically, the spatial isolation of Jared, Tommy, and Mia as they navigate a school full of zombified classmates turning on their teachers is solid survival geometry. But then, Benjamin Byron Davis enters as the local priest, and suddenly the lore expands into a necromancer revenge curse.
Oh, come on. Who cares if the priest drops a necromancer monologue? We get to the climax at the cemetery. The surviving kids driving out to unearth an unmarked grave to break the curse. That is classic 80s graveyard horror aesthetic right there. Though I gotta admit, that ending was shockingly bleak for a movie featuring Snoop Dogg on the soundtrack.
Bleak is an understatement, Marcus. It's downright traumatizing. Rather than giving us a neat Hollywood resolution where Jared saves his friends and destroys the truck, Roth force-feeds treats to Tommy and Mia, turning Jared's only allies against him. Jonathan Smiley glides out of Bayleen Bay with a literal army of possessed children, leaving Jared and his sister Lizzie broken on the graveyard dirt. It's a ruthless commentary on the helplessness of youth against an ancient, inherited curse.
We have to go into that twist ending, though. That scene where they unknowingly kill their own parents? What? That is peak unhinged Eli Roth. Jared and Lizzie dig up the bodies in the cemetery, thinking they're stabbing the necromancer and the siren to break the curse, only to realize the priest tricked them and they just slaughtered their own parents. I was staring at the screen with my mouth open.
It's an extraordinarily cruel psychological trap, Marcus. The fake lore from the priest, who turns out to be the actual necromancer, completely exploits Jared's desperation. He tells them to stab the bodies and ignore the protests, explicitly instructing them not to look into their eyes. So Jared and Lizzie go to work, thinking they're saving the town, when in reality, they're executing their own father and mother. The generational revenge loop closes on them in the most devastating way possible.
Mechanically speaking, that twist completely collapses the standard survival blueprint. Usually in these kid versus monster films, unearthing the grave and following the local lore leads to a clean third-act victory. But Roth flips the architecture on its head. Jared's grandfather was the lawyer who framed Jonathan Smiley decades ago, and the ultimate punishment isn't just killing the adults, it's forcing the lawyer's grandchildren to unknowingly commit the slaughter themselves.
And then Jonathan Smiley just packs up the truck, cranks that creepy jingle, and drives out of Bayleen Bay with a parade of possessed children marching behind him. Tommy, Mia, the whole squad, all brainwashed, leaving Jared and Lizzie traumatized in the dirt, surrounded by body parts. No Hollywood safety net, no rainbow after the storm, just pure, cold-blooded grindhouse nihilism.
Psychologically, it cements the film's darkest point. The children weren't saved. They were weaponized and stolen. Bayleen Bay isn't just terrorized. Its entire next generation has been wiped out and absorbed into Jonathan's army.
That's the exact structural brilliance and ultimate cruelty of the whole blueprint. Roth sets up what looks like a lighthearted, candy-colored 80s creature feature homage, and then pulls the slab right out from under the audience in the third act. But let's shift gears to the master kill sheet, because if there's one area where Eli Roth usually refuses to pull his punches, it's the physical trauma data. Marcus, how did the practical effects and body count hold up across the board?
Oh man, outside of those weird, uncanny AI-generated cartoons playing on Jared's phone and on the side of the truck, the actual practical carnage in this movie is top-tier Eli Roth splatter. We are talking about kids using hedge clippers, kitchen knives, softball bats, and heavy lawn tools on their own parents in their sleep. And then when the possessed kids turn on their teachers during the school takeover, the sheer volume of pressurized red corn syrup squirting across the chalkboard was incredible. It felt like a spiritual cousin to Cooties, crossed with Hostile.
I will give credit where credit is due. The practical prosthetic work in the cemetery confrontation is genuinely nauseating. Watching the possessed kids force-feed those melted, bug-filled treats down Mia and Tommy's throats while they're gagging and choking was viscerally uncomfortable. But Marcus, you can't just sweep the generative AI cartoons under the rug. That was a major sticking point for critics and fans alike. Using AI animation for the retro Fleischer-style cartoons inside an otherwise heavily practical $5.5 million indie film felt lazy and pulled a lot of horror diehards out of the experience.
It creates an awkward mechanical friction in the film's visual language, no question about it. You go from cheap, floaty AI digital animation on screen to hyper-realistic, heavy prosthetic blood fountains on set. But strictly speaking from a narrative pacing perspective, the 86-minute runtime keeps the momentum moving at a breakneck speed, even if the town curse lore drops from the priest feel completely patched together.
Hey, at 86 minutes, there's zero bloat. You get in, you get a bucket of frozen dairy splatter, you get an unhinged twist ending, and you get Snoop Dogg on the soundtrack for the credits. What more do you want from an August B-movie grindhouse flick? But let's open up the physical trauma ledger right now. First off, Eli Roth casting himself as Marty Mayfair, Jared's dad, just to give himself one of the goriest executions in the entire film, is classic Roth narcissism, and I loved every second of it. So, let's talk about what actually happens in Bayleen Bay. We have to go into that on-screen slaughter, especially that father disposal scene. A father gets his fingers destroyed in a running garbage disposal, severed and mangled, and then his own kids pour gasoline on him and set him ablaze right in the kitchen. And the dentist scene? His kids jam his own dentist drills straight into his ear and skull while he's strapped to the chair. That is peak unhinged Eli Roth.
And let me pull us back to the psychological mechanism of how those kills happen, Marcus. The children aren't just possessed. They experience the murder of their parents as if they're living inside a bright, playful cartoon. When they look at their parents, they don't see human beings screaming in pain. They see cartoon characters reacting to slapstick violence, which completely strips away any natural empathy or restraint.
That's a key structural element. The AI-generated Fleischer-style cartoons playing on the side of the truck and on the kids' phones act as the visual filter, hypnotizing them into carrying out the violence. But let's look at the school takeover. When firefighters and police officers roll up to rescue the kids, expecting innocent victims, the possessed children ambush them with makeshift tools, cleats, and heavy equipment, turning the entire school grounds into a mass slaughter grid. And what about when Jonathan Smiley, played by Ari Millen, just stands outside the school entrance holding his soft-serve scoops, smiling silently while his army of brainwashed kids does all the bloody heavy lifting?
Which brings us right back to the horrific tragedy of that trick ending in the cemetery. The priest wasn't trying to help them. He was the necromancer manipulating the generational curse. By telling Jared and Lizzie to stab the buried bodies without looking at their faces, he tricks them into slaughtering their own parents, completing Jonathan Smiley's revenge against the town.
The layout of the third act completely inverts the hero's journey, leaving Bayleen Bay decimated and its entire younger generation marched out of town behind an ice cream truck.
All right, let's transition into our final segment of the night. It's time to put Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man through the standard scare table crucible. Like every single episode, I'm posing the two definitive questions to the table. First, what is the single element you absolutely loved about this film? And second, what is the one crucial component you would change given the opportunity? Shane, you're the show anchor. Let's start with your architectural audit.
I'll gladly step up to the plate first, Chloe, because looking at this film purely through narrative architecture and structural geometry, there's a lot to dissect on both sides of the coin. What I absolutely loved. What I genuinely respect about Eli Roth and Noah Belson's setup is the sheer, brilliant mechanical logic of weaponizing lactose intolerance in a suburban Pied Piper slasher. From a structural standpoint, horror films often struggle to give their protagonist an organic, believable reason for being immune to a widespread corruption or hive mind possession without relying on tired, chosen one tropes. Here, Jared Mayfair's immunity isn't some mystical destiny. It's a mundane, everyday dietary restriction. That single mechanical choice creates a fantastic spatial dynamic. Jared is an isolated outcast in Bayleen Bay, not because he's a hero, but because he literally can't eat the free dairy treats Jonathan Smiley is handing out. It grounds the early tension in a relatable suburban reality before the entire town devolves into catatonic, sugar-fueled murder. Furthermore, the third act rug pull, where the priest tricks Jared and Lizzie into executing their own parents under the guise of an ancient necromancer cure, is a brutally daring structural subversion. It completely dismantles the conventional kid sleuths save the day blueprint and leaves the narrative foundation completely shattered in the dirt. What I would change given the opportunity. If I had the blueprints in front of me and could remodel one critical area, I would completely tear out the patchy lore dump in the middle act and rebuild the priest's exposition geometry. The transition from a tight, localized suburban outbreak into a sudden, bloated necromancer revenge curse feels completely uncalibrated. Benjamin Byron Davis does what he can with the material, but the moment he delivers that massive monologue about ancient curses and unmarked graves, the spatial momentum of the film comes to a screeching halt. Instead of relying on a clunky, shoehorned lore dump to set up the cemetery climax, I would have kept the focus strictly on the physical mechanics of Jonathan Smiley's truck and the corrupted dairy recipe. If you tighten that mid-movie logic gap and let the cemetery trap reveal itself naturally through environmental clues, rather than a forced priest monologue, the third act twist would have landed with twice the impact without fracturing the narrative pacing.
All right, Marcus, you're up next on the hot seat. Give us your detailed breakdown for the final 2 questions of the night. What did you absolutely love about this movie? And what would you change if you were in the director's chair?
Oh man, let me grab the mic for this because you know I have strong feelings on both sides. What I absolutely loved. What I absolutely 100% loved about Ice Cream Man is that Eli Roth completely threw off the corporate studio handcuffs and went back to pure, unapologetic, blood-drenched grindhouse splatter. After coming off a massive $100 million PG-13 studio project like Borderlands, seeing Roth dive right back into a $5.5 million indie horror sandbox with Francois Dagenet on practical FX is a breath of fresh air. The parent slaughter night sequence, where those hypnotized kids execute their own parents in their sleep with garbage disposals, kitchen knives, and lawn equipment, is absolute B-movie gore perfection. There are no cheap, floaty digital blood splashes hiding the impact. It's all heavy prosthetics, practical squibs, and hundreds of gallons of pressurized, sticky red corn syrup. That total commitment to visceral, physical impact trauma is why we watch Eli Roth movies in the first place. What I would change given the opportunity. If I was running the show and had total creative control, I would completely banish those AI-generated cartoons from the entire film. Using generative AI for those Fleischer-style retro cartoons on the side of the truck and on the kids' phone screens was an absolute sin for a $5.5 million practical horror movie. It completely breaks the visual flow. You go from watching insane, high-end practical prosthetic gore on set to looking at floaty, cheap, digital AI animation that pulls you right out of the movie. I would have taken a tiny fraction of that FX budget, hired a team of real indie animators to draw creepy, handcrafted 1930s-style rubber hose animation, and made those truck cartoons look authentic, uncanny, and genuinely nightmare-inducing.
And I'll close out our audit by answering my own questions, because from a psychiatric and thematic standpoint, this film presents a fascinating dichotomy. What I absolutely loved about Ice Cream Man is its cold-blooded, uncompromising subversion of suburban safety and childhood innocence. Horror so frequently treats children as passive victims or pure innocents needing rescue from predatory adults, but Eli Roth completely flips the dynamic. By turning the ice cream treats into a vector for mind control, the film weaponizes the town's youth against the very adult structures designed to protect them: parents, teachers, first responders. But what elevates it for me is the dark, tragic irony of that graveyard climax. The priest's deception, forcing Jared and Lizzie to execute their own parents while believing they are breaking an ancient necromancer curse, is an extraordinarily cruel psychological trap. It forces these kids to actively participate in the destruction of their own family units, leaving Jared completely traumatized as Jonathan Smiley marches off with an entire stolen generation. That total refusal to provide a comfortable Hollywood resolution gives the movie genuine thematic teeth. What I would change in a heartbeat is the forced, tone-deaf reliance on internet lingo and real-talk dialogue. Eli Roth and Noah Belson clearly wanted to capture modern youth culture, but writing middle schoolers who constantly speak in forced viral slang, algorithm buzzwords, and social media tropes instantly dates the script and undercuts the psychological weight of what these kids are experiencing. If you strip away the cringe-inducing social media lingo and ground the dialogue in authentic, raw teenage vulnerability, the tragedy of Jared losing his friends and his family to a predatory cult would hit exponentially harder. You don't need artificial internet dialogue when the core psychological horror of suburban isolation is already right there on the screen.
And with that final thematic diagnostic properly audited, signed, and stamped into the ledger, we can officially lock down the service windows and seal the freezer doors for Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man. Now, before we drop the needle on tonight's heavy-hitting featured track, we need to pause the tape and give a massive, heartfelt shout-out to each and every single one of you tuning in, sharing these episodes, leaving those 5-star reviews, and hitting us up in the comments week after week. Whether you've been sitting at this table with us since episode 1, or you just stumbled into the studio tonight, you guys are the absolute driving engine behind every audit we run.
It's true. The Ghostface Horror Network isn't just something we record in a vacuum. It's an entire global community built by all of us, for all of us. Seeing your kill sheet theories, your survival tier lists, and your debate breakdowns in our inbox every morning is what keeps this table burning. Continue to spread the word, share the links, and pull your fellow horror hounds right into the fold.
Hell yeah, bring them all in. We've got plenty of room at the table. And man, we've even got ice cream. Just make sure it's not cursed or brought to you by a guy named Jonathan Smiley. But seriously, head straight over to ghostfacehorror.com right now. We've got the full physical trauma audit, master kill sheets, survival tier lists, interactive slasher tools, and 24/7 dark audio streams waiting for you. Get on there, check out the data, and join the conversation.
That's right. Keep your perimeters locked, check your dairy labels, and stick around, because we are closing out the night with an absolute banger of an outro. Turn those speakers all the way up and get ready for Ice Cream Man, Bring Me a Scream by Buzzsaw Dubman featuring our very own Chloe. Until next time, keep your dairy locked in the freezer, stay safe out there, and we'll see you at the next table.
Then tell him that his human life is over. Ice cream man, I'm in the dark. Ding, 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 ding. Leaving a trail of flesh in the park. Churn, 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 churn. Please turn on your killer machine. Ice cream man, bring me a scream. Ice cream man, bring me a scream. Make it the sickest that I've ever seen. Give him the word that the feast isn't over. Then tell him that his breathing days are over. Ice cream man, down to the bone, scraping the marrow. No one is home. Please turn on your killer machine. Ice cream man, bring me a scream. Ice cream man, yes, bring us a scream. Okay, give him a pair of eyes with a dead hollow gleam. Anything else? Give him a frozen heart made for slaughter. And turn all his blood into cold crimson water. Ice cream man, I'm in the dark. Ding, 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 ding. Leaving a trail of flesh in the park. Turn, 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 turn. Please turn on your killer
table. Let the haunting begin.
The Scare Table is proudly brought to you by GhostfaceHorror.com, where independent horror journalism meets hardcore forensic genre analysis. Turn the volume up, lock the front gates, and head over to GhostfaceHorror.com to explore the complete blueprint of terror. The slab is waiting.